All right, we're live. Welcome everyone to the second stream this week. It's been a crazy week. We had a review stream earlier this week, which I think went really well. It went long. It was a lot, but I had a great time, and I could not believe how great all of the art was. It's really amazing, and hopefully for some of you that are not quite as far down the road as some of the more advanced artists, it's not discouraging because we're all on a journey. So definitely keep with it and it was great. I'm looking forward to doing it again soon. But tonight, I am incredibly excited. We have one of my favorite artists. I think an artist that really is bringing forward a tradition of a style of art, and you can see it on the screen right here. That we really don't see very much anymore. Traditional brushing and just beautiful line work, and really creative use of dry brush and just a lot of different inking technique. So, of course, we have him here. By the way, he's worked in fine art a lot. And actually, that's how I became aware of his work originally. He's also worked in movies, in games. Have you worked in games?
A little bit.
A little bit.
Yeah.
And concert art, and now a lot of comic art. And that's something, I'm incredibly excited to see. He's a really well-rounded artist that I think brings a perspective to comics that we just don't get enough. I mean, for me, I'm a very how can I say this without sounding terrible to myself? My influences are very comic based, and so that's really what I do. And we need more artists that really just come in and shake things up and do something really crazy and original and interesting, but still having the grounding of great comic illustration. And so I am incredibly excited that we were able to get Jonathan Wayshak to come. I should just say Wayshak, right? Wayshak to come and do some painting with us. And of course, I talked about inking this whole time, and we're going to be doing painting, but that was what I was most excited about. I talked you into doing another one after this, right? Did I? I hope so.
Yeah.
Because I would really like to do an inking one. I mean, if you guys look at the inking that's going on in this, I think that we would all really benefit from learning some of that. So I'm hoping, well, it sounds like we'll be able to get him to come on again to do some inking with us too. But tonight we're going to do some painting. Allison McGlone says, like hyper stylized Bernie Wrightson. And MR says, kick-ass intro, David Finch. Thank you so much, MR, because I'm terrible at intros. They're the hardest for me. And I've got my ink open. I'm closing this right now before I make a mess. So I've been talking now for 3 minutes. I'm sorry. Thank you so much for coming on, Wayshak. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, man. I'm more than thrilled, man. I hope I can deliver tonight.
I am absolutely sure this is going to go great. What we're going to be doing tonight, and we talked about this a little bit, because Wayshak does inks, obviously, which, I mean, this would be a finished piece in ink. He also does fully painted work. And you also do... It's like a mixture between ink and paint, and so you still get all of the texture and all of the line work from inks, and you don't lose the drawing feel, but it becomes more painterly.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like, because I mean, in all honesty, you're not supposed to admit this, but the reason why I have this mix of techniques is because I'm not that great of a painter. So I do full color paintings though. I'm more pursuing like a style. That's why I'm doing it now. Yeah, I find it more enjoyable. I'm more of a line artist. I'm more of an ink artist. So I'm trying to preserve that through the painting as well.
Do you have that piece? There was a piece you had at OAX of a guy with reflection in his glasses. Do you have that?
Reflection.
Yeah, the one. I mean, that's great.
This one right here.
Yeah, you're a painter,
wow.
man. That's
yeah. So this one's for Florence and Normandy. It's a promotional image for a new comic coming from Rodney Barnes, written by Rodney Barnes. So that should be coming from Zombie Love Studios sometime soon. So it's not looking too great. I'll show you something more interesting. This is
I thought that was
a variant cover I did for Philadelphia, which is Rodney Barnes and Jason Alexander. So,
and that was the ink. That was the ink technique you were talking about, right? You were using like dip pen ink, I think.
Yeah, for like something like this, like they were really. What I like about working with those guys is they don't want what's traditional, so they allowed me to do something as wild as this, and I always appreciate that because it's hard to like get this across in comics. Fortunately, I'm working on a bunch of projects where they are letting me do this kind of stuff lately, so I'm very happy about that.
Yeah.
I mean, this has everything from like colored pencils, acrylic gouache. I think there's even some like razor marks in it. Anyway.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this kind of stuff is right up Dave and I's alley. It's
Oh wow.
yeah. And then
it's great.
this is a more fully painted piece, an example of that. And this was for Grommets, which is a new book coming from Rick Remender, I think in April. And I even did like painted the lettering and stuff like that.
Is Glenn Fabry one of your influences, maybe?
No, I learned how to paint through Batman versus Judge Dredd in the Simon Bisley book back in the day, because when I was in art school, I was a really bad student. I had a bad attitude. I hate to say that, but it's true. And I did not learn how to paint. So I ended up going to illustration class without knowing how to paint. And that's not even an exaggeration. Like I skipped we had a sloppy school, so I was able to skip a lot of the courses. So like I went up to a friend of mine. I'm like, I don't know how to paint. I have a painting project. What am I supposed to do? And he gave me a stock of comics and like Batman, Judge Dredd, and Oink with Jonathan Mueller and Electro Assassin. So that's like initially how I learned how to paint. But like it was really Batman, Judge Dredd because that was a style that made the most sense to me. So they were bad paintings, but at least I was able to do the assignment. So I think I will always be wearing that influence on my sleeve, you know?
Yeah, well, it's definitely translated into your work.
It has. And by far and away, that's my biggest influence. It's what I've been chasing for years. And, you know, it's Simon Bisley and some of his best work. So, you know, I don't think I'll ever get there, but that's always kind of the goal. So I'm going to go ahead and change my camera and put my picture up here. Eric also is working on his. We're going to show that in just a little bit. And while I do that, I'm going to solo your camera. If you wouldn't mind just putting up your palette and showing what colors you've picked.
So I basically just put down a number of acrylics. I don't know what I'm using. So the point of what I'm doing here is I'm treating it like a sketchbook piece, kind of. So I kind of just drew it. I have no plan. I have no color idea. I'm going to freestyle it live and it'll either work or it'll be horrible. I don't have to finish it, but I'm going to try and make something interesting enough for you guys to see. So that's the palette. I'll be using some watercolors as well, possibly. Some colored pencils. And I'll probably be drawing in ink as well. So I'll be all over the place.
All right. And I've got all that stuff except for watercolors. So if you wouldn't mind just showing your brushes, if there's any brushes in particular that you like, brand and, you know, and just the types, you know, like Filbert or whatever.
No, I mean, I just use whatever's on hand. I don't think about it too deeply. My brushes are in pretty bad shape. I do have one Filbert. I use this one quite a bit. I mean, it's all pretty basic stuff. I mean, I have a Sumi brush I use, which I used inking this piece. So it's actually looser than usual, but that's what I wanted. Because I'm going to paint over some of this. So I wasn't trying to make a finished drawing because some of it's going to be blown out anyway. So
yeah. Nice. All right. So I feel like I learned a lesson with my picture, and that is I tend to ink pretty heavily because I want it to have some weight on the page. But then when it comes to color, I have a feeling I'm going to be fighting with my really thick lines.
It's, you know, I have the same thing because I throw down heavy blacks, but like I always find it helps to like go back into the blacks with some color to like kind of give a little bit of life.
I'm going to definitely try and do that. So you've got your colors laid out. I don't. I'm going to quickly catch up here.
Okay.
I think I'm going to mix on the fly. Otherwise, I'm going to be sitting with piles of dry paint that dry so fast here.
So are we? Can I just go, or are we kind of?
Yeah, do it.
Oh, okay.
Sorry. Yeah. Let's.
Okay.
And then Russ is also going to be putting Wayshak's information in the chat. Definitely check out his website and follow him on Instagram as well.
Yeah, and please let me know if anybody has any questions. Since everybody's getting ready, I was going to show this. A lot of the basis of my style is based off of this book, which I found when I was 16.
Baron's
So this is Baron's Stories, the Marat Sade Journals. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but it's a copy of his sketchbook. And he's influenced not just me, but a lot of people.
He just got, he just got inducted into the Hall of Fame, I think.
Did he?
Okay. Baron Story. I saw something on Bill Sienkiewicz's Instagram about that.
Okay. I mean, he's a big influence on Bill. He's a big influence on Dave McKean. And this is where the initial spark of mixed media application, this is kind of where I got the idea from in the early days. And I've kind of been pursuing it ever since. So whereas you're kind of talking about like, you know, Bisley is like that height you want to achieve. Baron is that impossible height, but will never happen. So because Baron is from another planet. And
yeah, there's always those artists out there, and you know, you can hate them and love them for being there at the same time. And I definitely do both. You know? All right, so I think I've got my color laid out.
Okay.
If you guys are curious, I'll just show you. Bearing in mind, I don't know what I'm doing here. So I have yellow ochre, burnt sienna, yellow, black. I think it's Mars black. A few different blues. That there is raw umber, then cadmium red, sap green, some whatever green, gray, which I never use, but I always put it out, in white. There you go.
Okay. Right. I mean, I guess I should have said my colors too. Then I have, if I remember. Okay, so this is a mixing white, titanium white, cad yellow, some kind of red. It's not cadmium red. Viridian, alizarin crimson, viridian, sky blue, cerulean blue. I forget what that one is. Ultramarine, yellow ochre, raw umber, burnt sienna, burnt umber. I put them out for no reason, really, so I'm probably not going to use most of them.
Yeah, but you know, it's nice when you're working on the fly. It's right there. You can use it. And yeah. All right. So I'm waiting. I've got my brushes ready to go.
Okay. So I'm going to blow out this creature on the side because he sucks. So
no. Oh, no.
He's gone.
Hey, look, you know what? It's not my place to say. It's your artwork, but I thought it was awesome. I think there are a lot of people in the chat that are having a heart attack right now. I know I.
Yeah, I'm crying inside. I really thought it looked cool, but I understand. I totally understand.
He'll probably come back at some point.
Yeah.
So that's just water you're hitting it with.
Yeah, I'm just trying to blow out edges. I mean, so the misnomer with all the splatter stuff is people think it's to look edgy. It's actually not. It's a poor man's way to blow out edges because we're not using oil paints.
Wow. Well, I don't know. Look, I'm sure somebody that knows what they're doing can get that with oil too, but I wouldn't know how.
Okay. Yeah.
That's some of my favorite effect in some of your pictures, and it looks like some of this stuff. It just looks like how would that be possible? I have no idea, and that looked easy. I'm saying that not having done it.
Well, it's uncontrollable. That's the problem.
Yeah.
So sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. The idea of blowing out edges comes from I'm a big fan of Jeffrey Jones's painting work, and he's like the expert at that kind of thing, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, and he's all oil.
Yeah. Even his pen and ink stuff, though, is like very kind of painterly in a way.
Oh, just a few questions here. Are you going to be using any medium? Or are you just going to be using straight water?
I'll just be using straight water.
Okay. Then the other one was the wet paper towel. Yeah, if you put acrylic on on a wet paper towel, it just slows the drying a little bit. Any water-based medium.
Yeah, but it kind of thins out the paper. It's not great, you know, so it kind of depends.
I'm really trying to make a decision about how I'm going to approach some of what you're doing. So right now I'm like hedging my bets just by putting in a base flesh color on while I think, because I'm not sure how I'm gonna. I want to try some of what you're doing.
I think yours is the smarter way to do things. Like I said, it's a 50-50 whether anything's gonna come out at this point. I could be embarrassing myself in public at this point. So
It already looks awesome. So it is. I don't think that's going to be a problem. So you know what I think I'm going to do? I'm going to try some black or some blue in the sky and try and see if I can do something like what you're doing. I'm going to give it a shot. Hit my camera. I'm sorry, I've totally gone quiet. I'm watching what you're doing and I'm enthralled, and so I've run out of questions already. We're
okay.
a few minutes in. I'm just trying to keep up here. Normally, I try to at least be a good host.
So you're trying out what I'm doing, kind of.
Yes,
Okay.
that's the idea anyway. And I'm finding I put some ink on there to start, just a splatter, and it's kind of coming up, which I don't know if it's bad or not, but
No, it's all part of it.
what it is. Yeah. All right. Toothbrush. Where'd it go? Still
Yeah, I
have a
guess.
black on my toothbrush, but
So I guess for the viewers, what I'm trying to do is I'm just trying to set a tone for the piece. I'm not really hitting the face or anything. This is like, it's kind of like just doing stuff while I'm kind of figuring it out, keeping myself busy, you know.
well, and it gives it a lot to work with. I mean, some of my favorite things are all the textures and like this kind of thing in a picture, and it's really hard to know how to approach, especially if you're like me, where I want to control things too much. It's really hard to let go. So right now I'm freaking out doing this, but
You know, the easy thing to do would be just hit the log with it, so that way you don't mess up Wolverine.
and I really should actually at least go behind him a little bit, I think, just to mix that color in there. Give it a try.
How much do you guys? I know you mentioned you had an airbrush. How much do you guys airbrush? Because I would actually love to have one.
You don't have an airbrush at all.
No.
I just assume any artist that does really clean work just has to be using an airbrush at least a little bit. So we have a Pash. It's just a single action.
Pash H.
And we also have a
HPCH Awada.
Yeah. So like one is a nice, a controlled dual action, and the other one's more of it's a single action. So yeah, between the two of them, I do find though I'm using it less now than I kind of was. We had Greg Staples on, which was crazy. I mean, he was incredible to have on as a guest, and I learned, we both did, so much about how to clean things up and make things work without having to resort to an airbrush. So there's less of it than there was.
Okay. So what were you using it for mostly? Just like soft sky tones? Like you weren't using them in figures and stuff like that, were you?
I was. So what I would do is I would do the whole figure, it'd be finished, and then I would just go in with airbrush just a little bit, just to kind of show up the shadows here, here and there, just to try and mix and paint and talking. Okay.
Just great for rounding forms.
Yeah, just subtly. But I'm kind of finding I don't need it as much as I did. So,
Okay.
yeah, he was an incredible guest. I mean, we learned so much. It was great.
Yeah.
Okay, because that's actually my frustration with acrylics. So because like I actually don't paint, I paint in acrylics, but I'm actually mostly gouache more than anything else because the color is just easier for me to deal with.
Yeah. Now, I like gouache for that, but what I don't like about gouache is it really quickly. You can't layer it, So what you put down, you're kind of stuck with. And if you don't really know what you're doing with color, which is both of us, Eric and I, not to put words in your mouth there, but we struggle, So
Yeah, the airbrush gets you out of a lot of trouble, or if you're stuck on a hard blend or something, just pull the airbrush out, bam, 1 second you're done.
Yeah, I gotta try that out then. I've never.
Yeah,
never
you would actually. I can send you those two after the stream too, the links to them. But I know for a fact you would love the Pash H.
Are you guys in the same
Create some
studio?
awesome splatter effects with it.
Okay.
What's that?
Are you guys in the same studio? You guys share
no.
studio space?
No. I'm in Canada. Eric's in Texas.
Oh, okay.
Mr. Ewok wants a spray paint. I've tried it. It's so hard to control.
So he and I spoke a bunch on Instagram. He's got a way to kind of control spray paint. You got to spray most of it out of the can. Well, you got to spray most of the propellant out of the can.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and then it's like not like a fire hose, And he also uses banana caps. I think it's like a special cap that you put on, a yellow cap, which the spray pattern is a lot more controllable.
Okay.
But that's about as far as I know. That's about it.
Yeah, I've tried using spray paint on a smaller level, and I've never gotten it to work. I don't even know what's good anymore. I used to use, I think it was called 94. But I don't know what's out anymore.
Man, I still don't know what I'm doing right now. This is I'm having a blast.
It looks fine, man.
Trying to add more red, and I'm picking up black. Here, now I'm going. Now I got a lot of red. This is where things really fall apart. Here we go.
I'm in the messy stage, so I don't know where if it's even going to work out at this point.
I'm going to end up with a picture that's going to take an hour just to dry. There's going to come a point with this where we're going to be using a hairdryer.
Yeah.
So you worked in so many different mediums. What made you decide to come back to, well, not even so much come back to comics, because you hadn't really done too much with comics, but what made you decide to start doing more comic work now?
Because I always self-published my own comics, and I was always doing, but I was doing kind of left of center comics, kind of like really like artsy kind of stuff.
Yep.
more surreal kind of stuff, and I was self-publishing them. I wanted to do comics to kind of just hone my craft and kind of get my foot in the door so I could do these other projects as well. My interests lie actually out like kind of people who know my work, like, or know especially my comic work, my interests actually lie way outside of mainstream comics.
Mhm.
So, yeah, it's just a medium I love and I want to pursue, and I do have stories I want to tell as well, you know, on my own. So that's kind of why I'm back into it, and it's been a hard transition, to be totally honest with you. The format and the size of drawing stuff is really difficult for me. It's so small, like all the time, you know. So that's been like a transition, like, but I've gotten much better at it. I've been drawing comics like pretty solidly now for about 5 years, so like I'm getting there, but I still get really frustrated by how small everything is. You know, I want to do like 3 or 4 panels max. You know.
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. It's so frustrating getting a script and there's 9 panels on a page, and yeah, you can do it, but you know, doesn't leave much room for anything but just basic storytelling.
Yeah, and then yeah. So but I'm enjoying it a lot. I finished the Florence and Normandy thing. We're doing a project called Cul-de-sac with Bad Idea right now, and I finished issue 2 with that. I'm just starting issue 3. Yeah, so it's been interesting. But I have my own project where I publish my sketchbook Myopia, which is done in this exact same like kind of freestyle technique.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like my baby right now. That's the project I'm working on, trying to get that done, get that published. Gonna have a big collection of that when that's ready.
So how is Bad Idea? Are they good to work for? I mean, I think I know some of the people there. I think so.
Yeah, I mean, Bad Idea. They've been great to work with. They kind of let me do my thing. I have a great script on the book I'm working on, and it's just it's been cool right now. You know, they're not like crazy about deadlines, so it's been allowing me to do work outside of that as well. But I've been enjoying it a lot. They also encouraged me to like kind of get a little bit more weird with it, because like it's a pretty straightforward kind of book, but like they let me do like kind of weirder panel layouts and stuff like that, which I've been enjoying. Like I've been able to experiment on the book.
Well, it's great that they're doing that. I think there's already Marvel and DC, you know, and for any publisher, finding a market, you know, that's something counter to that is probably a good strategy.
Yeah,
it's nice to see that so many publishers are doing so well with that now. I think comic fans are just on average older than they used to be, so they're a little bit more adventurous in their tastes, you know.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, I mean, I want to push it even more, so I'm trying to figure out how much I could push it. I kind of pulled back on issue 2, but like on issue 1, I would do like some weirder, like just panel layouts, like nothing too bizarre, and then he'd just be like, do it more. I'm like, okay. So, but I'm doing a series of covers that haven't been announced yet. I'm doing 12 of those, and those I'm kind of really kind of pushing like techniques. Like I'm painting the covers, and I'm trying to make them my own. So those are going to be kind of different as well.
Well, it'd be exciting to see it. Oh man, look at that! It looks incredible. I'm not going to quit, but the thoughts crossing my mind right now.
What?
Eric?
Yeah, the internal struggle is real. You know what's very comforting is that Wayshak's like, and I hear this from a lot of professional painters. Is that painters? Is that it can go sideways, you know?
Yeah.
And that's part of the fun of it is working through the ugly stage and start seeing it realized in front of you. So yeah,
it's tougher when you see somebody like Wayshak doing something.
Yeah, and you know.
Well, I mean, this all goes back to Jeff Jones, like seriously, because like in the late 90s, now I'm dating myself. in the late 90s, Jeff had a website where he would show like a lot of process pictures of his paintings. And what was
I
kind of,
remember. Yeah.
yeah. And then what was kind of game changing for me looking through that site was that you would see how he's changing stuff all the time. He wasn't like a slave to the drawing. He would like halfway be finished with the painting and then he would redraw the arm and he would redraw the head even. And like, I kind of took that to heart. So that's why I kind of just go with the flow because it can be changed at any time. Like,
yeah, he would a whole figure there and then just gone and a totally different figure. And he would just wipe it right off. It was crazy.
yeah.
It's really too bad that he stopped. He's passed away now, unfortunately. But I think he went through a bit of a tough time and it stopped him from working, which is such a shame. He was a genius.
Yeah. Yeah. Have you guys oil painted at all?
Yes. For me, I think Eric actually wants to experiment with it a little bit more and he's been doing some stuff with it. I think I'm out for oil painting because it always messes with me. I end up having an allergic reaction.
Oh, really? Oh.
So, and I know it's not just directly the paint, but all the mediums and everything you use, it's just not good for me. So,
Yeah.
I think I'll stick with acrylic. All right.
Sorry, my OBS crashed again. I don't know why it's doing this.
1872 has a $5 super chat. Thank you so much. And he says, what's your favorite India ink and paper to use to support all your layering?
Oh, well, I just use Strathmore illustration board. And then I switch inks all the time. I also switch inking tools all the time. For this piece in particular, the Speedball Super Black. But I've been using a lot of Sumi ink. I've been using a lot of Japanese drafting ink as well. I'm kind of in a transition period where I'm experimenting with a bunch of different things because I am chronically unhappy with all my tools right now. So,
yeah. How many times in your career would you say that you've felt like you hit a point where you're happy for a minute even? How many times would you say that's happened?
I don't know. I mean, very rarely.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't stand my own work. I mean, I have to turn it against the wall so I can't see it. Like when I'm in my studio, you know.
It's such a common thing, and it's such a shame, but so many artists are like that. You look at the work and think how much of it's like the dream to be able to do that, like what you do, and then the actual artist hates it. I mean, hopefully, I'm assuming it still brings you a lot of joy.
It brings me a lot of pain and frustration. I don't know if joy is the right word.
Really? Okay.
I'm sounding like a downer, but that's just kind of how I am about it. I mean, I love doing it, but like,
yeah,
it's hard to explain. It's hard to put into words how I feel about it. I mean, you have to be passionate about it to hate it this much.
That's actually a really good point. If you didn't care that much, you wouldn't hate it.
Exactly.
I think my best period, the period where I thought I was the greatest artist ever, and I was really satisfied, was the day that I got my first job and I was on my way to the Top Cow studio. And then I got there and you see actual professional artists work in person and it's like, wow, okay. It's humbling. You don't realize just how far you are until you're just confronted with it like that.
Yeah. I mean, especially when you see how things kind of come so easy to like someone who's been doing it for a very long time,
Oh yeah. Well, Jim Lee was working on, they were doing an image crossover, all of the image artists. And so he was drawing a Savage Dragon cover. And I stood there and I tried to not be too obvious. We all did it though. And watched him almost never lift the pencil. He just drew it and it never erased. I'm sure he did, but I mean, it was incredible just watching it flow out of his hand. And as an artist, that when you're learning, especially, you're like every little line, So it was incredible. And yeah, I learned my lesson. So mostly it's pain.
Yeah, it's ridiculous how easily Jim draws.
Yeah.
How it just comes so there's there's very few artists that I feel like it just comes that naturally to, and he's one of them. Like it's like just like breathing for him.
Oh yeah. Well, Mark Silvestri too. Really, so many. Travis Tress was there. Joe Benitez.
But it's good to have that.
I'm sorry, DCS. So, what would you say to someone who's lost their want or interest to draw, but they still want to?
Lost their interest to draw, but they still want to?
Yeah. I know it sounds like a contradiction, but I think I understand what he's saying. You want to do it, but you're just struggling to have the motivation on a daily basis to do it.
Just do it.
My guess would be is that you're not drawing for yourself. If and I'm just making an assumption. I could be totally wrong, but my guess is you're not drawing for yourself, and that's why maybe you're losing some of that drive. Because if you're drawing for yourself, like no money, nobody else, like that's where the love is in terms of making the work, expressing yourself. It helps you psychologically too. So you don't just get weighed down by the world. You're able to say your piece, and then once it's out of you, and you move on with your day.
I think what Jim and Food does would really help with that too. Is just carry a notebook that no one else sees, and just sketch a bunch in that book, and just keep it to yourself. Don't open it for anyone else.
Yeah, take the pressure off. I think that actually is really good advice. To which I said, I'm totally going to do that, and I have not done it yet. I'm going to do it though.
I did.
Did you? Okay. Yeah. See, you're a better man than I am.
I went and got some. I got two actually.
I'm always so busy. You can never be too busy to get better, but
you can be too busy.
Yeah.
It's better to be busy.
So Henry Jeremick has a question, right, Henry? He had a question actually for Klaus Jansen last week, and I missed it, and he was a little upset. And so I said, we are not going to miss your question, so I'm waiting for his question. And Russ says he asked a couple of questions we'll pass over to. I'm so sorry, Russ. The problem is that I'm desperately trying to keep up with a master of what they're doing, and some get missed. Your picture looks like you could just sign it. Don't do that. Don't get me wrong. Like, let's keep going, but it just looks.
No, it's pretty messy right now. So.
Yeah, I take that really with a grain of salt because you already said you hate your stuff. So.
Yeah. So, my goal right now. This is the most I've ever went into my process. Actually, now that I think about it. My goal right now is to get it to a state where I'm happy with the colors and I feel like I could go in and start kind of finishing. So that's all I'm trying to do. I'm not trying to make it look pretty. I'm just trying to get to that stage right now.
How close would you say you are?
I don't know. Like I said, this kind of piece is purely by instinct. So it sounds silly, but it's whenever I feel like it. So
no, that doesn't sound silly at all. I mean, it's you're going for a visual feel, and when you hit it, right? So
yeah, like my intention this morning with this piece was I was like, I'm gonna get out my Crow Quill pens and get into this whole thing, but I felt like using my Sumi brush, and that was just kind of this much thought that went into it.
Yeah. Henry says, David Finch. Dave, no worries. Forget about it. Yeah, okay. All right. Fair enough. Henry has been here since we started the channel. He was here on our first stream that I ever did.
Oh, wow.
So, he's very important to our community. Very important to me.
I mean, obviously you enjoy streaming.
Yeah, I love doing this. Look, when would I ever get the chance to work with you like this? You know? Yeah, it's a big deal for me to be able to do this, and I get to be selfish about it. We're working your way, so I get to learn all of your stuff, and so many artists are very closed about work. Very reluctant to show too many secrets, and so to be able to get this opportunity to watch it in action the whole way through while you're talking about what you're doing, yeah, I love this.
The thing that's kind of, I mean, I don't remember if I said it yet in this stream, but the thing that's kind of funny about artists that are protective about what they do is that the techniques are all the same. That's like the thing. Like,
yeah,
nothing I'm doing is nothing that wasn't being done in 1920. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not doing anything that's like new under the sun. I mean, I'm twisting it in my way, but that's a personal thing. But like, there's nothing to keep secret because it's all the same stuff everybody's known for a long time,
while I agree, and that's true, the kind of texture that you were able to get just right from the beginning, and here, take a look. I want to show you this, if you don't mind.
Okay.
So at the bottom, it's nothing like what you have at all. I mean, actually, I feel a little embarrassed now that I'm showing you guys, but I still kind of liked it because it's like nothing I've ever done. I can't do what you're doing. And I've never seen somebody, you can look on YouTube. I don't know if you've ever tried, but you can't find somebody doing what you just did with that. So I don't know. I kind of disagree. I think it's harder to find this kind of information than you might think.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about YouTube art stuff, but the beauty of it is you're making it your own thing, though. You're not trying to like do what I'm doing.
Oh, I am trying. I'm trying pretty hard to do what you're doing.
But it's just more fun to twist it. To me, it's always more fun to twist it.
Well, ultimately, I have no choice. I'm not you, and I learned this early on starting. Like, I really wanted to draw like Mark Silvestri. That's all I wanted, and I couldn't. I just couldn't pull it off. And eventually, I just kind of had to start to find my own systems for things. And it's the same with this. I'm watching what you're doing. I'm trying. I can't do it, so I'm just defaulting to my best effort.
Yeah, I don't know. It looks pretty good, man.
Well,
like I said, the hard part's maintaining the line work. I don't know about you, but it's a personal preference. But the reason why I'm kind of covering my piece so much, even though there's a lot of line work, is I have a hard time making the black line work with color. That's why I always kind of blow it out.
Yeah, it's really difficult. That's actually the biggest thing that I've been worried about with this is some line work you can make work pretty easily, but some of it can really start to fight, or at least in my experience. So I don't know how this is going to turn out. Part of the reason I really wanted to try this, I don't know if we made that clear. Hopefully we made that very clear in the beginning of this. Wayshak could just paint this thing and just lose all the line, and that becomes a painting. But to create that balance between a painting and a drawing, that's something more than I love watercolor, but sometimes I feel like it can look a little insubstantial. So to get something that looks like a substantial painting, like over her shoulder, on her back, I love what you did there. And that's using some white paint, with it to give it some thickness, and that's something you don't get with watercolor. I really, really like that. I haven't actually started working with white yet. I'm gonna have to jump into that to see if I can.
Yeah, I actually love watercolor. Like, love it, but I'm terrible at it.
Yeah, I love how it looks. And artists that do it really, really well, I love, but I'm terrible at it. I gave up trying. I'll have a watercolor artist on here sometime, and I'll try again. But Patapus has a $5 super chat, and he says, "Wayshak, you're awesome. I bet you do an awesome My Little Pony comic cover."
That's right. I still owe him that still. So.
Is that okay? There's like there's history there.
But I wanted to. Like, I would love to do, whoever's editing My Little Pony, I would love to do a My Little Pony cover. Like, I want to do stuff that's weird. Those are the kind of jobs I want to do. So yeah.
Have you done any Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles at all?
No, I mean, I just heard about that last Ronin thing, and that seems pretty interesting.
Yeah, like to me, that it seems like it'd be something you would do so well. I think you should, talk to those guys.
It'd be fun to do. I mean, there's like a couple of characters I would like to do just because it's like kind of like a thing. Like as a kid, I never thought I'd be able to draw that. So like that's kind of the appeal. So like there are a couple of characters I would like to do that are kind of like that.
Yeah, I've got my list. I mean, I've been doing this for so long that for the most part, I've kind of moved through a lot of that list. I mean, Batman I've done, and Wolverine, and so many of them, but I still have a bunch that I drew GI Joe one time. I'd love to do it more.
Oh, really? What else?
Ninja Turtles, actually, that's a big one. Thundercats. You remember Thundercats?
Yeah.
You might be a little bit younger than me, so some of this might be more my era.
I think we're the same age because I know all that stuff. So
okay, so yeah, close enough anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like the geek stuff that working in comics, you don't really get a chance to do a lot of that.
So are you a cartoon guy then? Did you grow up being a cartoon guy, not a comic guy?
I kind of, for the most part, grew up with neither. I wasn't allowed to watch TV when I was a kid.
Oh, okay.
Very much. So I would go to my friend's house. I'm a big G.I. Joe fan because I would go to my friend's house and he loved it. And so it was on and I actually got to watch it, So He-Man, that's another one. I would go to his house and we'd watch He-Man. I'd be like, wow, this is like amazing. The life that I didn't get.
Yeah, man. I mean, the one character I actually, in terms of superheroes, probably the one character I would want to draw really badly is Spider-Man. But in all honesty, I think I'm wildly inappropriate for Spider-Man.
Really?
So, yeah.
I think you're. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, okay. The ongoing Spider-Man book that people are like accustomed to, that it definitely takes it's a narrow range of artists that's really appropriate for that. But for covers or like a one shot or a mini series, something different, I think it'd be really interesting.
Maybe. I mean, I would want to draw the McFarlane one too. That's the other thing, and I don't think that's the one they draw anymore. So.
Yeah. I mean, they usually seem like they're pretty open to like different interpretations, just for coming off the lines, just for different. If it's not mainline continuity for different things.
Yeah.
And somebody asked, and I saw it, and let me see if I don't want to miss it. Spider-Man Noir. We have Greg Simpkins art here.
Wow.
And he says, "What up, Wayshak?"
Oh, Crayola's there, huh?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you so much for coming by. I know it's not for me, it's for Wayshak, but I still really appreciate it. It's really very, very cool. Both Eric and I are very, very big fans of
absolutely
all this stuff, and I've been following all. I just put his videos on. A lot of times they just have music to them, and it's done like they're sped up, and you see the whole painting kind of come out. Yeah, an absolutely incredible artist. If you guys are not familiar, he has a YouTube channel, and it is called, Eric, do you know? I have a bookmark, but I never know the name of things.
I would say if there's a way to have Crayola contact us or vice versa, we'd really like to talk to you.
Greg Simpkins says, "Hello to you, David. I watch a ton of your videos too." That's it. I'm done.
Yeah, if there's a way to Greg Simpkins, if there's a way to contact you.
Well, and strictly speaking, if you type Crayola in, he's such a huge artist, you'll find it right away. It's not.
No, I know that. I know I can find it. Yeah. I think you know what I'm getting at there.
Yeah, Crayola is one of the nicest artists I've ever met. Seriously, and he's always been very kind. Like I know him. We don't know each other super well. Yeah. But he's always been very kind and supportive of my work, and I've always appreciated that.
Yeah, basically, if there's a way to have him on, is what I'm getting.
Oh, I know that.
But yeah, his painting skill is just off the charts.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
yeah, and it's all created. It's just I'm sure we all use reference for some things sometimes. Like we all do it, but for the
Yeah.
most part, you look at what he's doing, and he's just kind of going with it. And he's another artist that, like Jeff Jones, where he'll just kind of make some changes on the fly and just throw some other things in, push some things back, and it's amazing to watch.
Yeah. A very different way of painting too, for sure.
Yeah, I've tried. I find it so. My problem is, as a comic artist, I'm so used to doing the kind of underdrawing that I have here, and just going from like a black using like a white kind of a chalk outline and going from that. I've tried it, and it's not fair to it because I think you don't know how something works until you really give it a chance. I struggle with it though, but I did learn.
Really?
Yeah, it was tough. I did learn some really great stuff about color and making the paint smooth and just like a lot of technique things. I know Eric has tried some of his paint. We're going to sit here and talk about Crayola the whole night. I'm sorry.
That's fine. I think, and I'm just making a guess here because I spray painted a couple of times just for fun, just to try it out. And my guess is his technique comes from spray painting, because I've seen some of those spray paint guys kind of do like the whole thing where you kind of do the shape and then you kind of paint into it. But I could be totally wrong. That's just kind of a guess.
That makes sense, though. Have you ever done any graffiti stuff?
Not graffiti. I know some guys, and years ago, a long time ago, I painted a couple of times just to try it out.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. It's frustrating, but I really enjoyed it. You know, I keep talking to a friend of mine about like, hey, why don't you set up a wall to do it? But like, I feel like that could be really hard for me to actually have to do something that people will see and care about. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, it's like the opposite of having your own little sketchbook.
Yeah.
All right. So I know when we started, you were talking about doing her. Hopefully, I'm not too far away from the microphone. It's way over there. Just painting her head, because we wanted to really like show the real technique that you're really using, rather than, like a rushed kind of version that's starts to I'm totally drawing a blank. You know what I mean. Anyway, it looks like the head is like, I don't know how much more you have to go, but
it's still got some go, and it's still got like a lot of finessing. It's still pretty rough.
Okay.
My colors are really dirty, but that's because I don't wash my brush very well. It's kind of a look I'm going for, but at the same time, it's also because I'm just not good at washing out my brush.
I tend to prefer painters. There's Simon Bisley, and there are a few that are really, really bright with colors. But for the most part, I like the subtlety. When a colorist too, actually, a common colorist, knows how to use grays along with their brighter colors, it's always my favorite. It makes such a big difference.
Yeah, that's always with comic colors, like getting them to desaturate is so hard sometimes, because I prefer desaturated colors.
Yeah.
I prefer to have mood more than like a colorful piece.
Yeah. A lot of times things just end up, there's just no place to rest your eyes, I find.
Yeah.
And never a big fan of that. Frank D'Armato over at Marvel was always such a great colorist for me, because he had such a great sense of that. Yeah. When I think my favorite colors, like Frank is always right up there.
Yeah, I still think like I give the colors a hard time, to be totally honest. Like I don't think I make their job easy. And part of the challenge, like working in comics again, is trying to figure out a way to make things easier for the colorists to make things look better.
Yeah, well, just having lighting that doesn't contradict is such a big step right there. I have a couple of the questions right now, but I want to bring in Eric. Eric, if you don't mind, I'd like to see how yours is coming along.
Oh, yeah, sure.
I'm waiting because
Oh.
all I'm seeing. There we go. Okay.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I'm trying to emulate what Wayshak's doing is pretty tricky.
Yeah. Well, this is always every time we have a guest. Like you, Wayshak, that does the kind of work, just really creative and free. It looks so easy, but then here we are trying it, and it's not happening for us right now. So I think Eric, it's looking really good though.
Yeah.
Thanks.
A lot of the
Yeah.
texture, we're not getting there right now,
No.
but I still feel like I'm getting a lot out of this, and I'm watching you work on that, and I'm not finished. I think I can get a little bit more.
Yeah, what's hard for me is to let go, you know?
Yeah.
I want to be very clinical and stay within law. You know what I mean? And I mean that in such a good way, because to get that background, you have to let go. I find it very difficult to do.
Mm-mm.
That makes sense.
I think a lot of it is just like a personality thing, because I cannot do what you guys do. It's just not. It's not my thought process.
Yeah.
And even honestly, like transitioning to comics from this is like a big jump. Because like whenever I do a lot of pieces like this or fine art pieces or whatever you want to call it, transitioning back to a tighter drawing comics in a tighter way is actually always a difficult transition for me every time.
Yeah, I think I've just never gone far enough away from comics to ever get comfortable with anything else, and so I'm always much more comfortable. Like a big picture for me is the biggest horror, because I'm just so used to working smaller.
Yeah, you see, I'm the opposite.
Yeah, it's definitely coming from a different place.
Yeah, but never do pen and ink too big. I did a Beetlejuice poster that was 40 by 30, and that's a whole different animal when you're drawing in ink, you know.
Yeah, I think with paint, it's one thing. With pen and ink, trying to work big, and I've done it, and I've learned to regret it. And I found too, you can get a little more detail in, but for the most part, it doesn't actually make too much of a visual difference. You don't really. It looks the same as if I had drawn it smaller. It just takes me 4 times as long.
Yeah. Yeah, I know one poster artist. He actually draws 11 by 14. I think he told me, and he just blows everything up. And then he goes, "People are going to see it from a distance anyway." He's like, "It doesn't matter." And I'm like, "You kind of got a good point, you know?"
Yeah, he's not wrong.
Yeah.
And ultimately, if the overall picture, some of my favorite art is actually really loose. And then there's a lot of really tight, clean stuff that just doesn't speak to me. So
yeah. Yeah, my favorite painter is Francis Bacon. So like a lot of this, that's why I showed you Baron's stuff earlier, because just to kind of show people where I'm coming from. But like a big part of that is also Francis Bacon as well. So I like things that are just more expressive and thicker, and you can see the paint strokes. You could see like the line. That's what I find interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, all the stuff I like, and I just have never had. I think when you're learning to, it's very difficult to really go wild with something until you kind of at least have the fundamentals down. And both Eric and I are really still kind of at the learning stage, I think.
Well, I mean, it takes a level of encouragement, because I had someone who encouraged me to do this. So when I was in school, I hated school so much, I took independent study, which is basically wasting your money. And because you do whatever you want. And then, but I had an advisor, and the advisor was actually, I picked her because I liked her. She was always encouraged my work. Her name was Cameron Watson. She's passed away since. But what she did was because what happened was I don't remember why, but I started playing around with this kind of style and this kind of painting initially. And then I showed it to some friends, and I remember they laughed at the paintings. I mean, they weren't good, but I really laughed at it. So I was like, whoa, what am I doing? And then she was actually instrumental in kind of going, I think this works. I think this doesn't work. You should keep going on with this. And it's really, I mean, no shit. It's because of her why I kind of persevered with the style.
Yeah.
Because at the time, she's the only one who encouraged me to do it. You know, so I feel like you still need some of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's tough to have the confidence to do something that's radically different from what other people are doing. You know, I've never had that, honestly. So I'm agreeing, but I'm agreeing from a bit of an outside perspective. I'm definitely more mainstream, you know, in my approach.
Yeah. I mean, because at the time I was getting graphic too with a lot of nudity and stuff like that. And then she was just encouraging the whole thing. And that really helped me kind of have the courage to keep exploring that side of my work.
Yeah, sometimes it does make me wonder, you know, where would I be if I tried being a little more experimental and push that kind of thing. I think at my age now, those days are done.
Nah.
I'm the artist that I am at this point, you know.
Nah.
Maybe another life.
Did you see the stuff Bob Peak was doing? I mean, there's always time, man. You know?
Not at all. No, I actually don't know what you mean. Like he was working in a more conventional style for.
No, Bob Peak, I think, was kind of experimental the whole way through, like his entire career. And even as he was getting older, he was still kind of doing wild stuff.
You know, that's a mindset though, right? He was always very creative.
Yeah. But it's just a state of mind, dude.
It is.
You need that event in your life that will change your mind, you know?
Yeah, I need the near-death experience to make me say, you know what? Time for me to go nuts. Let it all go.
It doesn't even have to be a near-death experience, man.
Yeah, ideally not, actually.
Yeah.
Russ has got up in the chat. You can check out Jonathan Wayshak's website and Instagram. And so you can see the link. It's right over there, just in the chat. So yeah, be sure to check that out. You can find all kinds of his work and get updates on what he's working on and where you can find his new work as he does it. So definitely check that out.
Yeah, I got an hour to make something out of this. All right.
Yeah, you and me both. I mean, I think yours looks beautiful already. And I'm what I'm going to do right now, because I don't think there's any way that I'm going to be able to really do too much with a figure. I think what I'd like to do is try and get some of in the background. I really like how you started adding white and then layering on top, and it just gives it so much depth. Unfortunately, I don't have the dark behind it. And that's where I think you kind of knew where you were going with it.
Yeah, I did. In that respect, I did. Yeah.
Yeah.
I kind of, even from the ink drawing, I kind of knew what I wanted to blow out, what I wanted to emphasize. I had a general idea, even though I didn't have like a total attack plan.
So now I'm trying to decide, because I really like how the effect that gives it, and I don't know that it's going to be possible with the way that I did mine. So I think I might try and go back into darken the background up a little bit and see if I can get some of that working. So that's going to be, I'm going to do a little more with the figure and then try that and see what happens.
I think I'm getting into the point where I need to let it dry a little bit, but there's no time. So,
you ever use a hairdryer?
Yeah, I do. I'm trying not to make noise right now. I think I can work with it.
All right. We really would be totally fine if you say it. Whatever you have to do, it's no problem.
But what are some of your influences, like outside of comics, like painting and stuff like that?
For Zeta, obviously, I mean, you know, that's everyone. Boris, I love, you know, I love all that fantasy kind of art. A lot of the D&D guys from the 80s, you remember like East. Oh, I'm going to draw a blank on everybody's name right now. Keith Parkinson.
I'm not familiar with D&D artwork from there.
Yeah, I was a big fan of that stuff. So that's really big for me. You know, I really didn't become aware of any kind of like more experimental painters until later on. And so like a lot of the pop surrealist type artists, or I guess artists that have been kind of, you know, grouped into that category anyway, whether they chose it or not. I'm a big fan of a lot of that stuff. And then just a lot of illustrators like Bruce Struzan and again, Wayshak, I'm the worst with names, especially when I start thinking, I just go blank. But he does mostly Western art now. I think McGinnis.
Oh, Robert McGinnis.
Robert McGinnis, yeah, I'm very big fan.
Yeah, his stuff's pretty ridiculous. I like it. I like his gouache stuff a lot.
Yeah, it's incredible.
And what about fine art? Are you interested in fine art at all, or not really?
No,
not
at all. Now, okay, that's not entirely true. There are some fine, like there's some figurative artists that are amazing.
Sargent.
Yeah. If we're not talking contemporary, yeah, definitely. There's a long list. Like William Gainsborough, I like a lot. The Impressionists, obviously, everybody loves that stuff. Rembrandt, very big fan. So yeah, I mean, you know, all the usual suspects. You know, how about you?
Yeah, like I said, Francis Bacon. Rembrandt was a real big one. When I saw his work in person, I didn't think much of him before when I saw it in books, but when I saw it in person, that kind of changed my mind. Excuse me, but because his stuff doesn't translate well in print. And Egon Schiele is a big one.
Oh yeah, I've got a couple of his books. You know, I'm not surprised that you're a fan of that because it's such challenging work. You know.
Oh yeah. I mean, and then the funny thing about that is I found out about that through really young, when I was really young, through an interview with Peter Chung. He was talking about the inspiration to Aeon Flux, and then they showed one of the Egon Schiele paintings. I didn't know what it was, so I looked it up at the library, and that's kind of how I found out about all that kind of stuff.
I'm making a total mess right now, and you know what? I really want to try what you're doing around the figure with some of the like layering the lights on the dark. So if this destroys it in order to get that, I don't care. It's worth a try.
Excuse me. Yeah, that's what it's for, man.
Yeah.
I've actually switched to white gouache just because it's more opaque. Because there's always a certain point where acrylics just kind of frustrate me.
It's true. Yeah, they do. Do you find gouache works well on top of acrylic?
Yeah, when I want to be more opaque.
Okay.
That's what gouache is good for. Like I can generally do like a piece and get like what I did just now, like on this piece where I kind of did like a lot of the quick, fast, dirty work with acrylic, and then I start going in with gouache when I really want to kind of make it pop and work into it some more.
Here's where I'm trying to get some soft edges using the toothbrush the way he did. See how this goes.
See, he already pops more with the darker background.
He does. I like it so much more. I'm glad I did it. Even if, you know what? I think it's going to work.
It's going to work, man.
I've been trying to talk all this time and I was backstage.
Oh. I thought, what happened? You went so quiet. Oh, there you go. This is totally the make a mess style of painting. I love it. What do you think, Eric? You enjoying this?
Yeah. I don't know how much you heard me earlier. It's just it's hard for me to let go.
Yeah.
I get so comfortable in that clinical, stay within the lines kind of.
Yes. Oh yeah. It's for both of us. That's so much more where we're coming from. But
and I mean that in the nicest way possible. It's like because I know that if I go outside the lines, I'm going to get some really cool stuff. It's just a very it just takes practice. I'm pretty sure just to kind of let go.
Yeah, I mean,
the best things always happen in painting. I feel when you start letting go.
I mean, I remember looking at the Death Dealer piece Rosetta did, and just being amazed at how loose that piece is.
Yeah, really. There's so much going on. It's tight in some ways, but then it's just tight where it needs to be.
Yeah.
Just like little hits of detail. And then the rest of it can be crazy loose. And he was like out of the gate doing that too,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's what I'm always trying to do with my work. That's why I'm kind of just working on the face. If I can get the focal point to work, the rest of it will work. That's kind of how I'm thinking.
Yeah. I think that 100% of our audience would totally agree that it's working.
Jim Mafood is here.
Oh,
great to have Jim Mafood here. He was our guest it'd be 2 weeks ago now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was an incredible stream. We all just basically, it was similar to this in the sense that we were drawing and we were just sketchbooking, something I never do. And his came out amazing. He was such a great guest. We had a great time.
Every time I see his Instagram, it makes me realize I'm not drawing enough.
Yeah, he says, "Wayshak in the house, epic."
Yeah, I respect the hell out of his work, and I think he does really cool stuff.
Yeah, we had a total blast on that stream.
I'm just gonna say it right now. I kind of like my picture.
See, that's the confidence you need, man. It looks pretty close. It looks pretty close to being done, don't you think?
Yeah, kind of like yeah. I mean, look, I'm not saying it's great, but I like it. It's so different. I would never ever try anything like this. So it's not me so much patting myself on the back. It's just me being shocked right now that this is turning into something I'm happy with.
I mean, the thing is, you've done so much line work on it. You did all the work already, so there wasn't really much to paint.
Yeah, but I mean that can you were saying this earlier on. It can kind of fight you too. Too many lines and make it difficult. And I was really afraid that it would.
But the happy medium I'm trying to find, like on the upper deck pieces I showed you earlier, is where I'm trying to hold the line art, have the line art do all the work, and just kind of basically do flat colors. But I never get it to work, But that's always the thing I'm chasing after with that kind of work.
So I'm kind of letting this dry for a minute.
Okay.
And then I'm gonna ask for help if that's all right.
Okay.
So I know what I want to do, and I really want to. You know what? I'm just gonna go for it.
Do it.
I'll leave you to paint your picture. Don't worry.
Okay.
I'm just gonna do it. What the heck? All right.
Yeah, it's not like thousands of people will be seeing this. Sorry.
Yeah. Dan Caselli has a $2 super chat, and he says, "How do you dispose your paint water?"
The sink.
Same here.
We're probably not supposed to, right?
I really don't know. If we're not supposed to, that's news to me. So.
I think acrylic is non-toxic. A lot of it, I think, right?
Yeah, look,
Cadmium.
there are some colors that used to be much more toxic. Like there's cadmium red, which they don't really use anymore.
They don't
No, I've got cadmium free red now.
really.
Yeah. So I'm just throwing some white on here, and we'll see what happens.
I can't live without cadmium red.
Yeah, it's a great color, but I don't know. I'm not an expert enough to know whether it works as well as the actual cadmium, but and maybe that's just Canada.
I mean, it all depends what you're throwing down the drain, I guess. If you're throwing like actual paint piles, yeah, that's bad.
Well,
Yeah, you'll get clogged pipes. You'll have to call a plumber soon. But yeah, if you're throwing cadmium, I mean, even titanium white is the whole aquatic life, kind of toxic for that. But the main thing is not to throw wash your pallet down the drain.
Oh yeah.
This is where I really wish I knew what I was doing, because I don't know what I'm doing.
What are you trying to do?
I'm trying to get some of that, like the foggy kind of light effect that you got with some of your stuff.
Oh yeah.
And for the most part, it's foggy.
I think it's working.
You're too nice. All right.
I will say it is hard to draw on camera for sure.
Yeah, for sure. You're using the Sumi brush right now. So
yeah.
Why is that? What is that work best for?
I'm just trying to clean up some of the art line work, define some of it. I got so loose with the painting, which is, like I said, this is the problem I always have. I get so loose with the painting, I lose the line work, and I still want some of the line work in there.
Yeah. I hear that. I'm definitely doing a lot of that right now. And I really like that dark background, so I was reluctant to put the lighter on that, but we're here to learn.
Yeah. People have to realize artists blow it more than they actually succeed.
Yeah. Well, and also if it would be so easy for me to have you on here and watch you do this amazing picture and then just sit and just stay in my comfort zone. I do not want to do that. So I'm willing to let it go to chaos if it does. Dan Caselli has a $10 super chat. Thank you so much, Dan. And he says, I just had to replace my drain. My drain acrylic turned to plastic and clogged it just for the water. Get a bucket of kitty litter, dump it in there, and when it climbs, scoop it into the trash. Well,
That's actually a good idea.
Yeah. Yeah, because I dump it in the sink, and we're out in the county too, where I am. So who knows what I'm doing to our septic system. Attack Peter has a $5 super chat. It says, Wayshak is a beast. His work has inspired me for over 20 years and really pushed me to rethink my illustrations as a young art student. Stoked he's on. Yeah, thank you so much. And yeah, me too. I knew this was going to be awesome. Awesome, though.
I actually didn't know that about Peter. And the funny thing is that I work for him now.
Oh, that's great. It's a great thing about illustration is there are times you just don't know who your work affects and who sees it and can be inspired by it. I mean, it's great.
Yeah, it's shocking to me still, but I appreciate it for sure. Because I mean, there are artists that have done that, for me, obviously, you know what I mean? So it's nice that I'm able to do that, for other people as well.
Yeah. You know what? I'm telling you right now, my goal right now is if we can get you back on to do inking, I want to come closer to the technique that you're using here, just in my own time, and see if I can kind of get a little better at this.
I mean, you
Really?
basically, I mean, you're doing the same cross hatching and all that. You know what I mean? You just use different tools.
Yeah. Well, I'm just having such a blast letting go with this.
Oh yeah.
And I feel like a technique like this would really work well with a style like Jim of Food, you know, where it's really just creatively drawn, just crazy stuff.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, if that's how you feel, go buy a Sumi brush. If you want to learn how to like not control brush line work, Sumi brush is where it's at.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. Try that out because they're great and frustrating at the same time. You just do not have the level of control that you have with like those Winsor Newton Series 7 or any of that stuff like that. But it allows you to like create accidents that you kind of build off of.
All right. I think I'm gonna have to Amazon that one. Our local store. I've got a Michael's here, and it's a.
Michael's
I mean, the people there are great, and if you need something that everybody buys, they're great, but they don't have a huge store.
Yeah. So this one is. It's gonna focus. There we go. All-purpose Yasumo.
There it is.
SW1.
SW1.
It's a cheap brush. You can get it on Amazon.
I keep hearing that all the time. All the best artists just use cheap brushes. You know, the brush doesn't make the art better. You know.
No.
All of us would rather hear that the reason you're so much better than we are is the brush, and we just don't have the brush. If we did, we would totally be able to do it too.
Yeah, no, it doesn't matter what you use, really. You know. My favorite story with that is I remember reading an interview with, I think it was Ian Mackay from Minor Threat and Fugazi. And I think he was talking about, and when he was really young, he met, I think, HR, somebody from the Bad Brains. And they're like, hey, we can't sound as good as you because, you know, we're 16 and we got this crap equipment, you know. And he said he took the guitar from him and just jammed on it. And that's when he realized it doesn't matter what you have. Like, if you're good, you're good, you know.
T. Davidson, my new favorite person on the face of the earth, just said David Wolverine reminded me of a Slane comic at the moment. Well, thank you. I don't know about that, but I'm taking it. I'm so glad I went darker and then tried the lighter. And there is a beauty to your randomness that I can't do, and I want to keep working with it. I'll get better, but even without that kind of just the natural hand technique that you have, I still love how it came out of mine too. I'm so happy.
I think it looks good, man. I like the fog with the tree too. I think it all worked out, man.
Well, thanks a lot. This is awesome. I'm having a great time. Dan Caselli has a $2 super chat. He says, by the way, these are amazing. You guys are inspiring. Oh, thanks so much, Dan.
Thank you.
Eric, how's it coming along?
It's coming.
Oh, come on. Let's see.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I like the mood on it.
I need to work on that.
Yeah.
You know what you got to do? You got to throw so much water the paper warps.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Don't worry about taping it down. Just make a mess.
Just make a mess.
It looks great, though.
Yeah. Like I said, it has a great mood to it.
Yeah. Yeah, purple's a great color, too. I think it really worked well. Very nice. How much more do you think you have to do?
I need to rescue some of the background. The values are all off.
I hear something going on over here that... Wow. All right, you know what? I'm gonna go on mute just for a second. If you guys want to like carry the stream, because I'm gonna hit my picture with a hair dryer because I really want to try what you're doing right now.
Just using the side of the pencil.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah. It's just, I mean, scribbling, really. It's just trying to soften up the edges. It's the same thing you guys do with the colored pencil. It's just kind of a, I don't know how to say it, but more kinetic way to do it, I guess. But yeah, it's just part of the, it's just all just like me trying to soften colors, just trying to get things to where I want them to be, kind of make colors pop. Kind of minimize the level of painting, and then I can go back in with ink again. So it's kind of a back and forth process. It's not. That's why I don't care if I nail the ink drawing or not.
We have a super chat from Corey Rust. Hopefully, Eric, you haven't already read this one. For $10, thank you so much. And he says, at OAX, I saw Wayshak's Philadelphia cover was my favorite piece I saw all weekend. Hopefully in 2.5 months, I can get a dread commission. And I got Eric at OAX as well. So yeah, thank you so much, Corey.
Cool, thank you.
What's in 2.5 months? Is that another convention?
Yeah, I'm doing WonderCon, I'm doing C2E2, doing Emerald City next week. So trying to do more shows, trying to be more social.
Yeah, Corey. I think he picked up the dread that we painted with Greg Staples. Yeah, it was great meeting you, Corey. So which con is it that you're going to? Wayshak?
I'm doing WonderCon, Emerald City, and C2E2, and then San Diego.
Great.
Hopefully New York. How many shows do you guys do?
I generally, every year I say, you know what, I'm going to do less shows this year because it's driving me crazy. And then I do 10 shows again, like every year. I do 10. Seems like that's my number.
How do you get anything done by going to shows?
I don't take commissions at home. I only do them at conventions. So, you know, there's that. If I was bringing commissions, I'd never get work done at home. And yeah, it makes it tough. It really does.
Maybe I should just do.
What's that?
Maybe I should just do commissions at the shows.
Definitely the way I like doing it, rather than it taking up, because I only have so much time to work at home, and I've got so much stuff to do. I just do what I can do at the show, and I really like being able to meet people. Like meeting some of you guys from the stream is always great. At the same time, just doing the stream and seeing all you guys here every week, which I really appreciate. Thank you. That kind of fills that void for me a little bit too. You know, that you need the kind of feedback from people for what you're doing. So, yeah, I really should be doing less shows, but
yeah, they're always fun. You know, it's always. I've been doing a few more in the past couple of years, and just meeting a lot of great people. You know, I used to only do like 2 or 3 a year.
Yeah, it is good for networking too. You know, it can be a pretty important tool.
Yeah, I had a friend lecture me on that a few years ago. So he's kind of like, "Listen, man, you got to go out there and meet people." I'm like, "Can't I just show my work?" He's like, "No." I'm like, "Okay."
It makes a difference when people see you and kind of get to know you, and
yeah,
it does make it.
That's what, and you know what? It has. Since I've been doing more shows, I've had more things have been happening. Like, and it's been like a night and day difference. You know, I mean, I wish I did it more earlier. You know.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I won't finish on stream, but I'll get pretty close. How much time do we have? Half hour.
We got a half an hour. We got lots of time.
And I can make this presentable in a half hour.
I'm throwing. You know what? Here, I want to. Now that you were working pretty big there, like pretty broad with the pencil, I didn't want to take any screen space. But
No.
So I'm throwing in some colored pencil. I tried to dry out, but I'm still a little wet on top of it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean the scribbling. I mean that's all like that. Bill Sienkiewicz, you know, Electro Assassin, Dave McKean, Violent Cases. You know, that's all that is. You know.
Yeah, I mean, you say that's all that is. Sure, that's fine, but I mean, that stuff is truly for me like magic. Like so much of stuff that you're doing here, it is like magic to me. I can get a sense of it, and I can try some of it, but yeah, hoping to get better at it. And
yeah, I mean,
well, I'm really grateful you're on here, just because it's forcing me to really try it, which I think is great. You know, this I don't know that I ever would have tried this.
really? I mean, I'm happy that you are. I'm happy that you're enjoying it. I should try what you guys are doing next time. Try to be more precise, you know.
Your inks are incredibly precise, though.
Kind of. They give the illusion. I always feel like good inking should give the illusion of being precise. They're actually not precise. I mean, they're precise, but they're not as precise as people want to think. Like when you look at the turn of the century pen and ink guys,
yeah,
their stuff is so loose. But like people see it and it has the illusion of being really tight, but it's actually not that tight. And I feel like my work has some of that too. Some of it.
Yeah, I'm much more from the the Image Comics, very very precise school. Even then, though, there's always kind of a desire to try and capture some of what Klaus Janson would do with his stuff. So you get that really really tight line and really really clean inking, and mix it up with some texture and some of that.
Yeah.
I'm drawing and talking.
Well, if we do an inking thing, if I come back for that, we should do an exercise to be loose. To do loose kind of work. I'll show you real quick. See if
don't show us now.
Oh, don't show you now? Okay. Okay, I'll save it then. All right. I was gonna have you guys try this. I'm like, it might make you guys like go crazy, but all right, we'll save it for the next one then.
Now you guys all have to come back.
But yeah, I mean, you guys should do something loose, and I should do something incredibly precise, like Travis or something.
I tried actually. Travis is a huge influence for me, and I spent a good portion of my career just really trying to do as much like him as I could. Yeah. So the work that I do is honestly, it's like my best shot at doing that. I don't naturally have a very clean hand, I guess.
I don't think I have the mindset to do what Travis does,
Yeah. Yeah, he's like a 1 in a million at what he does.
Yeah, for sure. So, since we were talking earlier about Batman, Judge Dredd, and the Biz, I'm kind of at that stage of the piece right now where I'm trying to make it pop. So I'm doing all of the Batman, Judge Dredd tricks right now, where I'm using just like a pure, thickest gouache white I can use to just kind of make things pop. And traditional painting, you're probably not supposed to be doing this, but these are all things I still learned from that book.
It's some of my favorite stuff about I think it's just those little highlights, and you could take them away. It's still a great picture, but they just were awesome, you know?
Yeah.
That's my intelligent comment of the day.
Yeah. It's funny how. Oh, go ahead.
I don't have gouache, and I'm not going to get the same level of control with this, but I'm going to use this just to try and get that effect.
You know what? I've seen a lot of comic guys use that thing, and I can't get those things to work. You know, like mine leak, and then they mix with the paint and everything. I must be doing something wrong.
They can be really difficult to get going properly, so it can be really frustrating. You're using it, and it comes out really watery. They take a long time. Yeah, they're not ideal, but they work well enough for this anyway. So much of my painting is just putting something down and then hitting it with the palm of my or with a finger to try and kill it back anyway. That
Oh yeah.
Like even with a brush, I do that. So these work pretty well that way.
I think you have to do that.
It's a Ariel Olivetti technique.
Yeah.
Does that a lot.
Who's that?
Ariel Olivetti. He taps the acrylic and gives it a bit of a gradient.
He's an Argentinian painter, a longtime Marvel artist, an incredible artist, and actually our first painter that I think our first guest too that we had on the street.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. I probably know his work. I think I didn't know his pronounce his name. So
yeah, I think you would if you saw it. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's also influenced by Simon Bisley and Richard Corbin.
Oh, Corbin's another great one.
Yeah.
Well, he had this printing process of coloring that I remember. I was so excited when somebody said, "Hey, I saw this article about how he did his colors," or I think it was a YouTube video. And I mean, the video is great, and I was all excited. I'm going to try this, and I saw it. And I thought, "Wow, okay, yeah, no, I'm not doing that." That's crazy.
I mean, yeah, people need to understand how shocking his process is because I remember reading about it, and I'm like, "No fucking way, dude."
Yeah, I think the only thing, I think the big thing we got from him is he used the Pash H. So there we go.
Oh, did he? Yeah, but I mean,
we incorporated that.
Yeah, but what a crazy process. I don't even know how he came up with that.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how that would ever come to pass, but it looked great. It worked.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Oops. And then talk about something that was just really extremely different for the time.
So I'm coming pretty quickly to the end of what I can do with this. Just I find when I don't know what I'm doing, I always go fast. The more I learn what I'm doing, the slower it goes.
If you're going fast, that means there's not much left to do.
Yeah, I think I'm pretty close. As a matter of fact, I think I'm just going to wrap it up there.
All right, cool. So I still have a ways to go. I don't know how far I'm going to go, but I still have a ways to go. But
we need to just catch up with some super chats. Let's see. Did we get this one, David? What's your favorite India ink and paper to use to support all your layering?
Yeah.
Yes, we did. And if you guys missed that, that is just illustration paper. It's basically a Strathmore illustration board. Is that
Oh, sure.
smooth?
Yeah, we did get there. I'm sorry. I see the little My Little Pony one.
Sketching the Beast says, Dave, how you been, man? We have not seen Sketching the Beast here for a long time, so good to see you here.
Yeah, it is just illustration board, standard illustration board you get from any art store. It's Strathmore. What do you call it? I think this is heavyweight illustration board. It's vellum surface. It's not the smooth one, but it's not too rough. It's not like watercolor paper. And all that stuff's preference. A lot of people use Crescent. I personally hate Crescent board, but a lot of people really like it. So.
Yeah, I think you try different paper, and for some people it works.
Yeah, exactly.
We're using right now. Eric and I are using Arch's hot press.
Yeah, the smooth watercolor paper is interesting. That's for sure. I'm still trying to get that Bert Silverman technique to work, but I still can't do it. But one day, man.
What technique is that?
That's the wipe off technique, the watercolor wipe off technique. Like if you're familiar with Kent Williams and John Moots style from the 80s, that is all Bert Silverman's technique. So
I think Stelfreeze does that, where you pick up the paint.
That's right. Yeah, we did a stream with Brian Stelfreeze where he was doing that, and
we attempted it.
We attempted it.
Okay.
We're going to do it again. Actually, we're having Brian come on again soon, which I'm excited about, and we're going to try round 2. It really didn't work. Certainly for me, Eric.
It was tough. Yeah,
it was tough. So yeah, it's a very cool technique, and there's a real kind of chemical process that he uses to make that work. So you can get it to wipe back off.
Yeah, you have to have like the right consistency and of water, and you have to wait the right amount of time. Yeah, it's very technical.
Yeah, I was told the paper's not good enough anymore because they had the paper was different at the time, because Silverman was doing a lot of this in the 70s and 80s. Mm-hmm. And I was actually talking to George Pratt about this, and then I think he told me he was kind of saying the paper's not as good either, but I think he does like a layer of China white, like a very thin layer of China white, so that the watercolor doesn't get as absorbed into the paper, so that there's a better chance of still being able to lift it off.
Yeah. Now this wasn't. I mean, it was gouache, but yeah, I'm pretty sure the same. Yeah, the rules apply there for sure.
Yeah.
Like he would wet his brush and then lift things back up to create highlights, and it was just crazy to see.
Yeah. The Silverman technique was so crazy. He would wipe entire heads off though with like a paper towel.
Wow.
That's what he used to do with that.
There are some videos on YouTube from Westermore.
Yeah.
I can't remember his first name, Eric.
Michael?
I forget, but he was using like this strange paper and this strange kind of technique where he was doing like a total wipe off thing, and apparently it was really common back in the 70s for concept art, or the 80s, I'm sure too.
I think David Grove did that a lot as well.
Yeah. I remember running into some car guys, and I was talking to them about some of those old school techniques, and they just like kind of stopped me, and they're like, "Why are you doing that? Like, just use Photoshop." They're like, "Why are you wasting your time?" I'm like, "Oh, okay."
Sure, but there's no original art in Photoshop.
There probably will be someday.
Dave, did you get Dark Era New Vegas' super chat, or the next few cons you'll be getting, David? I think you did that. Right?
Oh, no, I didn't.
Okay, he's asking what are your next few cons you'll be doing. I would love to get to see and finally have the ability to do it. I think
Eric and I will both be appearing in
Dallas Fan Expo.
Dallas Fan Expo coming up. When is that, Eric?
I think it's June.
Okay, so yeah, June you'll be able to find us both there. I've got. Oh man, I'm gonna do the Chicago convention, C2E2. I think that one might be next for me. New York, San Diego. I'm gonna be in Prague at some point this year, and Italy for the
Lake
island one.
Como?
Oh yeah, Lake Como. I'm gonna be there, and Baltimore and Charlotte, and that's my list for this year. It's a lot.
Another super chat.
There's a lot of traveling.
Yeah.
Image Comics 92, brilliant pieces. Do you ever find yourselves wanting to switch up your style with something different every now and then? Yes. Yeah.
Well, for my part, yes, it's really difficult for me to just commit to it. But yeah, absolutely. Wayshak, what do you think? I know the answer from you.
Yeah, I mean, I switch things up all the time. And I do it on jobs, which I want to advise you should never do that because all it does is get you into trouble. But yeah, no, I mean, that's what I find interesting is trying out different things more than anything else, really.
Yeah, I totally agree. But definitely editors get a little upset when they expect one thing and then it totally goes in a different direction and then back into a different one. They want it to be consistent. I think from a reader's perspective, that could be so much fun, though. I was always so much of what you do. It really reminds me a lot of Sam Keith. Like there's a big Sam Keith kind of element to me, just visually. I don't know if he's an influence at all, but
oh no, absolutely. I mean, Sam's a friend of mine.
Okay.
Sam is such a massive influence to what I did because like him and for comics, like him and Todd are kind of like the two catalysts because my dad hates comics. Like when he was a kid, like I just happened to get comics. Like I wasn't encouraged to read comics, and I came across their work really early, and it just blew my mind that it was possible to do something outside of that Ramita Garcia Lopez kind of style that you saw in like the Underoos and all that stuff like that. So
yeah,
that was like the big thing. And Sam was a big deal because Sam was like an outer, I mean, he was coming from, who knows where Sam was coming from. It was just that radically out there, I mean, if Sam came out today, like, Sam would be radically out there, like it's just,
I wonder,
it's crazy.
I wonder if he would easily get work, because editors are very reluctant to hire artists that are different. It's a tough thing. You have to kind of really prove yourself with an audience first for a lot of, if you do something that's different.
Well, I guess the one thing I could pass on what Sam said was that one time I was talking to him about that. I'm like, I was just talking about like, like you did the Max and you did all these projects and it was at a time where you had all these opportunities to do things. Sales were good, blah, blah. But Sam was like, he's kind of like, but he really likes like people like what I was able to do and some of my friends, because he goes, you guys didn't have to do comics. He's like, you guys were able to like, kind of just do your thing and make something out of it. And I thought that was kind of an interesting kind of take on it. You know what I mean? It's almost like the grass is always greener on the other side,
Yeah.
But I appreciated that. I understood what he was saying, and it's kind of an interesting thing. It's like, yeah, you're able to kind of go off and do your own thing now. Whereas before it was kind of not so much a thing, but like because of people like Sam and Sienkiewicz and all that, and Ken Williams, they kind of paved the way for people like me to do these kind of things. Without them, we wouldn't be allowed to do any of this stuff, period. So.
Well, the history of comics, I mean, how long has comics been around for? Who knows? All through the 50s, 60s, 40s, you just didn't see any kind of experimentation from publishers.
Yeah.
It's very, very rare.
Yeah, I mean, today, like, one of my absolute favorites is Ted McKeever. And
yeah.
I mean, let me ask you, do you think they would let Ted draw Batman today?
My gut is telling me no, truthfully.
Yeah.
There's still now it depends if it's like the mainline Batman book. They're very conservative. You know, they still are. They're very risk averse, which is a shame because I think you get an artist like Todd McFarlane or Rob Liefeld. I'm an image guy, so I'm very biased, you know. But they were very different for the time, and that actually really invigorated fans. And you know, Spider-Man was kind of languishing for a while before Todd came along. It just did something so different. So I wish they were a little bit more adventurous.
Yeah, I mean, the reason why I bring up Ted is because he wrote some truly spectacular Batman stories, and I think the one in Batman Black and White might have won an Eisner, but I could be wrong on that. And it's because he's so different is why those stories were so spectacular, you know.
Yeah.
And I feel like guys like him, you know, need to be given that chance, you know.
Yeah, I think so. You know, and you don't see it as often as it would be nice to see that a little bit more.
If anybody had their super chat, just let me know in the chat. I think we got to all of them.
I'm so literal that I'm now trying to turn all the white colored pencil I did into rain. Can't help it.
So, are you influenced at all by Mike Butkus? Wayshak?
Who's this?
Mike Butkus.
Butkus. I'm not familiar with his work.
Okay.
He is a movie poster and artist, and he does a lot of like concept work and that kind of thing. You could compare him to Drew Struzan, but you know he's a real Renaissance artist. Like he's
very versatile.
Yes, very versatile. And his art, actually, I think the reason why they're asking the question is he really does have a drawing style that he draws really, really well, which is relatively uncommon for that kind of artist. And he does a lot of creatures that I could see, definitely some similarities.
Okay, I'll have to look that up. What was the name again?
Mike Butkus.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I just see something shining through, but I mean, again, it's all probably the same influences that are
probably. I mean, the big one I always get nailed on is Ralph Steadman, and I can't deny that.
Who's that?
Ralph Steadman. You know Ralph's work, pen and ink.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Fear and Loathing is his most famous thing, probably. In my case, I found his, in the library the book of his Alice in Wonderland book, which is I absolutely love, and that was kind of the catalyst in that way,
Yeah, I know his work. I have not seen. I haven't seen the Alice in Wonderland. I'm not as familiar as I could be. I need to.
The Alice in Wonderland's I think it's a pretty worthwhile book. It's a pretty interesting illustrative take on the series, the story.
Okay, I missed one from Mark Teague. We finally get to see the master at work. What a treat. Thanks, Jonathan. I still have your fan book from Comic-Con 2005.
Wow. Well, thank you, man. I appreciate that. It's always, I mean, I love it, but for some reason I'm still always surprised when people keep stuff, but I love that they do, I'm happy to know that some of this stuff exists in some way. I mean, especially from way back then, those are the photocopy Kinko's days too, so.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember at the studio at Top Cow where I was, we'd find an artist we really like, and next thing you know, we're all running over to the photocopier and making printouts, like 5th generation printouts. It'd be a printout of a printout of a printout.
Oh yeah. I'm jealous of that. I mean, I've never had like a working studio with like a bunch of artists, and I've like where you're all like working together. I visited Wildstorm once, and it seemed pretty cool. Like, so it's like I felt like I always missed out on that level,
Yeah, Wildstorm was a great atmosphere. I started basically at Wildstorm.
Oh, okay.
Top Cow was in the same studio. It was all Homage Studios when I started, and then a couple of months in, we all moved to LA and they stayed in San Diego. So yeah,
Okay, got it.
they were great.
Yeah, I mean the closest thing I had is I had a temporary studio with at Alex Party's place and Dave Korea's place. It's the Zero Friends Studio in Oakland, and I
Yeah.
did that for a couple of months, and I absolutely loved it. But it was like a temporary thing, you know. I was preparing for an art show, and I was working on some big oil paintings that my friend Dave is still stuck with. I told him he could cut it off because it's huge. It's like 5 foot by 4 foot, and I'm like, Dave, you can just cut it off the frame and throw it out, dude. You don't have to have it in your house. But, I don't know. He's keeping it so far.
Yeah. Jim Dixon, sorry, says there's a great documentary about Ralph Steadman out there. Not sure how easy it is to find right now, but it's a great watch.
Is that the Johnny Depp one? I'm guessing.
I don't know. And Unhinged says Alex Purdy is so good. So is Skinner.
Yeah, I did. So that is actually something that's going to be coming out this year. Is I did a 15-page story for Skinner's book Skin Crawl, which is great. I mean, we're talking about alternative comics. Like Skin Crawl is the stuff Skinner does is alternative. Period. You know, so I'm looking forward to seeing that come out.
Nice. I'm absolutely stunned at how that picture has come out. It's incredible. It looks beautiful. And that, ladies and gentlemen, 2 hours of work.
Oh man,
unbelievable. Jim Klein has a $5 super chat. Thank you so much. And he says, thanks for another awesome stream, and a big thanks to Wayshak for coming on and sharing his process tonight. It's been a treat to watch you work. It really, really has been. This has been incredible.
Well, thank you for having me, man. I mean, I'm blown away and honored. So thank you.
Well, yeah, I don't even know what to say. I've had so much fun doing this. This has been an absolute blast. Eric, do you want to final show to see how it's coming along?
Sure.
All right, here we go. Nice. You came into
very cool.
Figures very, very good. Like all the lighting looks great, and it looks like you came into some of the background with a little extra white.
Yeah, the values are just a bit off. So yeah, try to lighten it up a bit.
Awesome. Yeah,
it came out great. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think everybody's piece work came out great. It's a lot of fun.
Well, thanks. You're very gracious. I really appreciate it. I think yours looks beautiful, and I mean, this is everything I was hoping the stream would be. I knew it would be, and a lot more. Like, yeah, I knew this would just be entertaining watching you work, but I had no idea how much I was going to enjoy doing this, and I'm really looking forward to doing more of it. Just and letting go, and just not being so concerned about every little thing. I think it made I couldn't have done this picture on my own, and I actually really like it. Here's me beating my own drum. I don't care. I like
it. You see, that's the attitude to have, man. All the artists need to have that. Sometimes you just got to love your work, right?
Maybe I'll hate it tomorrow, but today I get to love it. So thank you so much for coming on and painting with us. I'm really looking forward to doing some inking together. I think that's going to be absolutely amazing. I think all of you guys will get a lot out of that. We'll learn some warm-up exercises that I think I'd like to learn, because I really don't know any. All of my inking is just making things up. I have no idea what I'm doing. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Hopefully we'll be able to do that soon, within the next couple of months.
Okay.
Whenever we can get you to come back on.
Hey, anytime you want me, I'm happy to come on. Hopefully my camera will focus. I don't know why it's not focusing now, but focus, damn you. I guess anyway. But yeah, anytime you want me, yeah, just give me a ring. I'll come up. We'll try out that exercise, see if I could drive you guys crazy with that.
Absolutely. Well, this has been such a huge blast. Thank you to all of you watching. I hope you guys have a great weekend, and we will see you next week. I've lost track of where we are in terms of the schedule, but we'll see you next week. And yeah, good night, everybody. And thank you so much again, Wayshak, for coming on and painting with us.
Thank you.
Thanks. It was fun.
All right.